It's known as the ACRE program, which stands for Agricultural Climate Resiliency and Efficiencies. The state-run program helps farmers pay for energy efficiency upgrades on their lands and reduce the impact on the climate. I discussed the program and evidence of climate change on farms with Nathan Latoile, the New England Regional Director of American Farmland Trust.
Whether or not we can point directly to the individual elements as being from climate change, we have seen the weather being much more erratic. We have seen springs that just no longer have that kind of traditional ramp up between cold and warm. We have earlier warm spells, but then it goes back to being colder. The same thing in the fall. We just don't seem to have that clear delineation of fall anymore. Sometimes we have warm spells that happen much later, and those really wreak havoc on a farming system.
And so I think one of the ways the state has stepped in recent years is through this Agricultural Climate Resiliency and Efficiencies. I'll say the ACRE program because it's a heck of a lot easier to say. But through the ACRE program, and part of that program is it's giving grant money to farms to help sort of get at this climate change piece.
Absolutely.
And recently, can you talk about how the program is meant to address some of those challenges?
Yes. So we look at farms as being part of the solution to climate change. Not only can they make decisions on their farm that benefit all of us through sequestering more carbon, through reducing energy usage, but many of those same things make them more efficient farms. They return money directly to the farm's bottom line through savings in energy production, improvements of quality of life from energy efficiencies, automation on the farm. All of those have this wonderful dual benefit of both making them better farms from a financial standpoint and better farms just as community members that are helping to combat climate change for all of us.
And this is probably a tough question to answer, but of the financial benefit or the environmental benefit, do you see one as more beneficial, more important?
I think they're really equally important. Without knowing that a farm's bottom line can be improved, it's really hard for struggling operations if they're trying to decide which bills to pay today, to go out and do something extra that might not contribute directly to their operation. If they'd like to, they all will, but having the resources to do that can be challenging. So when we can identify investments that improve both, improve the environment, improve the community, and improve the farm, it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
When you're talking with farmers or hearing from farmers through your position as the New England Regional Director of American Farmland Trust, are farmers coming to you saying, look, we think we need to do some energy efficiency upgrades here on the farm, we don't know what those are? Or are they coming to you saying, we need solar, we need a digester, something like that? How does that discussion unfold?
Sure, so it's a mix of both. Some farms, they have an idea of what they want to do. Maybe they've had an energy audit that is supported by the state. Maybe they just saw what some other farm has done. There's a lot of that where farms learn from each other all the time. So they see something that works in another place and they say, oh, I'd like to do that on mine. We have folks who come to us or go to the Department of Agriculture and are looking for assistance in just determining where they can save money, where they can make improvements. But like I said, some have very clear opinions and ideas about what they want to do.
Let's look at a couple of the technologies that farms are using to help get at this climate change piece, but also that bottom line piece that you talked about. I know years ago, your family's farm, the 4-Star Farms in Northfield, used sort of a predecessor of the ACRE program to do some solar.
Yes.
What was involved in that?
So energy needs on a farm are always high regardless of what the type of agriculture is. And we found that solar is a fairly reliable way to do that. In Massachusetts, we have net metering, which allows a farm to produce energy during a certain time of the year, but then use it throughout the year. Because
it's not always sunny in New England.
Exactly, especially
breaking news here.
Yeah, especially when many of our farms might be doing work inside and using more electricity. So if they're fixing their machinery in the winter in their shop, when they're really using a lot more electricity, based on a regulatory structure, we're able to produce the power all summer long, but then use it in the winter through that net metering. So solar has been, solar photovoltaic systems have been a very, very popular part of the program, and that's what my family did. We have a 50-plus roof-mounted solar array on a roof of one of our barns, and that has made our farm, from an electricity standpoint, we produce more power than we actually use, so we're able to use a little bit at our residence as well.
That's always a good thing, right? Absolutely. Producing more than you use. The Daily Hampshire Gazette also reported this concept of a no-till equipment, that the grant is helping some farms with that. Can you explain what that is and what it's doing?
Sure. So that's actually a different grant, but it's a great grant. No-till is crucial to soil health, and we know that if we keep our soil healthier, it'll sequester more carbon. So if we can reduce the tillage, we can reduce the amount that we're actually turning the soil over and breaking it up. We're improving the ability for that soil to sequester carbon. And we all know that carbon is a powerful greenhouse gas, and getting more of it out of the atmosphere and into the ground is a great place for it. So that no-till equipment allows farms to seed directly into the ground without having to actually plow and without having to break that soil up and turn it over.
Part of what I understand from the state's website is that grants are about $25,000 or up to that amount, and there's some magic math in there too, depending on how the percentage is broken down. But that number overall, is that enough? Is that helpful enough, or could farmers use more than that?
I think there's always a need for more, right? We would love to have these programs be larger. There are other grant programs out there as well, and there are low-interest loans that are available. So while we would have more projects happen, and we would have some bigger projects if there was more money, it's a meaningful enough pot of money where a farm can go out and get a loan for the balance of it. It's actually one of the really important partners for some of these programs is our community banks, farm credit, organizations that really understand agriculture and understand the reliability of these grant programs. So they're actually willing to lend against a farmer who's getting one of these grants to be able to come up with the rest of the financing that might be needed.
The governor's office pointed out that they think that this program will help save about 780 tons, checking that number, it is 780 tons a year, of the greenhouse gas emissions. Does that sound about right to you in terms of what you know of these programs and how they're being utilized?
Yes, it does. A lot of it, like I mentioned, is solar. We also have some smaller wood chip heating systems. We have a greenhouse in Chesterfield that already had a solar array and was using that to meet a lot of their electricity demands for their greenhouse operation. By bringing in a wood chip heating system, they were able to actually make that greenhouse be net zero entirely. So they're no longer burning fossil fuels in order to heat that greenhouse. We have another operation that has actually, through the manure composting process, that generates a lot of heat, and they're able to actually capture that heat through that manure composting, use it to dry some of the inputs before they go into the composting process, and have it be much more efficient, have it release less other greenhouse gases, and just, again, both improve their operations and reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
How much more room, if any, do you think there is for improvement on these farms that could help with this climate change piece?
I think we've only begun to tap into the number of farms that we have. You know, Massachusetts has 7,000 farms, and many of them are at a scale where on-farm energy production could be very helpful. Whether it's solar voltaic, whether it's producing their own heat on the farm through wood chips, I think we've only cracked this a little bit, and it's a lot more gains we can make.